Yesterday we talked about Peter's message to wives. And by the way, in all the years I've been doing these devotionals, I think that was the longest one I ever did. And it still didn't do justice to the passage. It's important to understand 6 verses, 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, have a lot packed into them. But let me just go now to verse 7 and talk about the message to husbands. This is only one verse, but it doesn't mean that there's not just as much responsibility, because I want you to notice he starts out with, likewise. Remember, husbands, life is not always fair. Your wife is not only going to be she's not always going to do what she's supposed to be doing. But you have a responsibility. And here's the main thrust of what he has to say to husbands. Live with your wives in an understanding way. We need to understand the challenges that they're facing. What it is to be a woman. What it is to have to live with you. As a husband, you need to understand your wife to the best of your ability. Now, really, in this world, we'll never understand other people and what they're feeling and thinking, let alone someone of the opposite sex. But that's our goal. And so we're to live with them in an understanding way. And look at this, showing honor to the woman. That means placing a great value on her. Because remember, he says, as the weaker vessel. A man has physical strength, normally, more strength than a woman. And we're not to use that strength to intimidate or to coerce, but we are to value them, value their opinion, value their desires, value their contribution to your life and to your marriage. So men, even though it's a short verse, it is packed with a great responsibility. If we will treat them in an understanding way, if we will value them, if we will understand their limitations and challenges, we will have a wife who will appreciate it, who will love us and admire us for it. And then he says this, why should you treat your wife in this way? Since they are heirs with you of the grace of life. Don't you realize, Peter says, that you and your wife in the sight of God are equal? You are both heirs of God's gift of eternal life. So a married Christian should value his wife in a very special way, because in the sight of God, we are one in Jesus Christ. And then he says this, so that your prayers may not be hindered. The reality is, how we treat our wives is going to impact our ability to have powerful, effective prayer lives. When we do not treat our wives in the way that we should, when we respond to them instead of doing what our duty is that God has called us to, then we will not have the same standing with God in our prayers. And so there's a powerful motive here for men to listen to the message of God, to love your wife, to value her, to treat her with understanding. And in doing so, God will be honored and Christ will be exemplified to the world around us.